First, though, a week from today, Donald Trump will again be president after taking the oath of office in a ceremony that begins at noon next Monday, January 20th. Two of Western New York's members of Congress were actually with the president-elect this past weekend, joining Republicans from other traditionally blue states down at Mr. Trump's home in Palm Beach, Florida. Representative Nick Langworthy with this lengthy post on social media saying he had the privilege of meeting with Mr. Trump and his Republican colleagues from New York, New Jersey, and California at Mar-a-Lago. You can see him standing there right next to the president-elect. Western New Yorker Claudia Tenney also in attendance on the left side of that picture. Within the past hour, I talked with Congressman Langworthy from his office in Washington, D.C. I asked him about this meeting this past weekend and about his goals with the new administration about to take over. Congressman, always great to talk with you. Let me start. I know there was a lot on the table as you guys were meeting with President-elect Trump over the weekend. I know the SALT deduction came up, and obviously that impacts a lot of New Yorkers. We're all wondering how this tax plan is going to work out. Do you think at this point that restoring more of the SALT deduction is going to make it into what passes Congress and what the president ultimately signs?
Well, I think there's no way to get there with a reintroduction and an expansion of the current tax policy without at least raising the cap from $10,000 on state and local tax deduction to a significantly higher number. And let's remember why we're here. Now, the states that are at the table that most want to restore this are the states that need it. Those are high tax states. Those are states like New York and California, New Jersey. And that was the group I was with at Mar-a-Lago with President Trump on Saturday, those Republican delegations to discuss with President Trump the SALT deduction, why it's important to our constituents, why it's not just a New York City problem, but it affects people across the state. It affects Western New Yorkers less so than perhaps people on Long Island and Westchester County, where property values are much higher. Incomes tend to be much higher as well. We currently have a $10,000 cap. That's not nearly enough. We'd like to see that go up. Putting together a 5 to 10 or maybe permanent tax cuts, it takes a lot of negotiation. And it's probably not a short-term measure that we're going to deal with in the next month or two. But this year, we have to make sure that we address the tax cuts that are expiring. And this is a key provision that we're going to work on.
What are a couple of the other big issues that you were able to directly talk with the president about this weekend? What's most important to you?
Well, I'm, as you know, Michael, I was just appointed to the Energy and Commerce Committee, and that's got very broad jurisdiction. But, some of the most signature parts of the Trump platform and what we all ran for Congress on was expanding American energy exploration and really creating, hopefully, an American energy dominance. And I sought out this committee because I see my home state of New York leaving us in the lurch, leaving us behind. We have our own, God-given natural resources that we can't harness. We can't build pipelines to make sure that American natural gas heats homes in the Northeast and New England. Instead, so many people in that area are dependent on Russian created liquefied natural gas that's shipped across the Atlantic. We have to find solutions and get people to the table through negotiations and common sense.
Critics of the president have recently said he's talked more about trying to take Greenland and the Panama Canal and make Canada the 51st state instead of talking about what was most discussed during the campaign, lowering everyday prices. Do you wish the president-elect would talk more about how he's going to bring prices down?
Certainly the things that he's talked about that the media has glommed onto, yes, that's there. But let me make no mistake. The transition is an even better transition than he had in 2017. I think this is the best team President Trump's been surrounded by. I think his appointees are stellar and are preparing their confirmation hearing, some this week, and they are going to be prepared on day one to get to work. And, whatever the president happened to tweet or say in a quick interview is not all that's going on. I mean, there's so much going on behind the scenes, putting the right personnel in place to take over on January 20th, to make sure that this can be an effective administration to meet the mandate that he was given by the American people. And I know that we in the House of Representatives, the now Republican Senate majority, we're prepared to execute that vision to get all of the things together that we need to do to accomplish the agenda that we ran on.
Congressman Nick Langworthy, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks so much, Michael.